Hi everyone, Nia here. As the competition season is wrapping up, I've gotten a lot of questions over the years as a dance educator. How do dance competitions work? It can be very confusing for those not always participating in them, and I think that we take for granted our knowledge of the process, how things work, how they're judged, and how they're scored. Now, certain things, for instance, racing in the Olympics, whether it be swimming or track, it's very objective. You can clearly see by camera angles, slow motion, a person standing at the finish line, you can see who reached it first. So it's clear who a winner is. When it comes to dance, even things like gymnastics and figure skating and the things a little bit more artistic, they're subjective. And a lot of the times the opinions of the judges are infiltrated into the results. I'm going to try my best to not say my opinion about any of this and just provide you with facts. So let's get started. We typically break down competitions by categories, by how much experience you have. If you're put in a primary category, that means you're training about 4 hours or less a week in your dance studio. A little bit more increase, let's say 6 to 10 hours, puts you in the secondary category. And more than 10 hours puts you in the intensive category. These numbers can change depending on the competition and their rules. So you have to read them carefully as studio owners and as dance teachers. Sometimes they have a showcase level as well, where you can enter but not receive any scoring, but you can still receive critiques from the judges, which is still valuable because it helps you become a better dancer, a better performer. Sometimes these categories are called different things at competitions. This is just what I've seen in the most recent competition I participated in. We'll also categorize you by whether you're doing a solo, which is one person, a duo, a trio, if you're doing a group, a small line, large line, or production. And as you can imagine, that is increasing amounts of numbers of dancers in each routine. So typically, they judge solos against solos, duos and trios against duos and trios. So a solo is not necessarily going up against a production line. You know, solo, one person versus a dance with 20 people. Then we categorize you by what type of dance you are doing, what genre you are doing. And these include a lot of them: ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, lyrical, contemporary, modern, open category, which is it doesn't fit in anything else, musical theater, ethnic. I've seen Tahitian dancing, clogging, Irish dancing. If you're curious about the difference between lyrical, contemporary, and modern, that will be another video later, so come back and check that out. Now let's get to the big question we have about competition is how do they score it? So every entry will receive a score, and this is a typical scoring system, and they will vary depending on the competition. Every entry gets a score, and it coincides with the judge's critique. So let's say there are 3 judges, and each judge can give a possibility of 100 points per entry. So I could, if I get a perfect score, get 300 points. And from there, that's where every deduction happens. Now, the confusing part is that dance competitions put a label on each bracket of points. So for instance, if you hear a dancer say, "Oh, I got a silver at this competition," it means from 0 points to about 159 points. They fell somewhere in between that bracket. It differs from, let's say, the Olympics, where first place is gold, second is silver, third is bronze. Dance competitions have put a label on the bracket of points. How many points did I get? That gives you a range. Oh, that's about how much I got. It's almost like getting a grade in school, right? Between this many points and this many points, you got an A. Between this many points and this many points, you got a B. It's the same in dance competitions, but they call it silver. I've seen, 160 points to 167 points be high silver. 168 points to 179 points, gold. That's called gold. From 180 points to 191 points, they call it high gold. from 192 points to 200 points, they call it platinum. And you're probably thinking, Nia, where are these high golds, high silvers, platinum coming from? Again, to try to keep my opinion at bay, I believe it comes from if, let's say, a child gets bronze at a competition, they kind of already know they got a lower amount of points because they know from the Olympics there's gold, silver, bronze. So I think it stemmed from attempting to please parents or children that were concerned that they weren't scoring high enough, possibly the self-esteem issues that can be very controversial and debatable in youth sports. So they created other categories to bump it up and make it seem higher. So they had to invent things higher than gold. So there's high gold, then they got platinum, some competitions have diamond, etc. In my experience though, the children can see through that. Okay, so let's get to overall scores. So every entry, every dancer, every dance is going to get a certain amount of points. They're going to tack a label onto it that is silver, gold, high gold, or platinum. They're also going to do overall scoring. So within those categories and age groups that I covered earlier, they're going to put them up against each other and see who the highest scoring of those were. And that's where we're getting the first place overall, second place overall, third place overall in competitions. And again, you're not typically going to pit up somebody who only trains 3 hours a week at their dance studio to somebody who trains 20 hours a week at their dance studio. They're going to be judged separately for the most part. Some competitions offer a lot of overalls. You would think it would be similar to the Olympics, having first place overall, second place, third place overall. But some I've attended have gone all the way down to 11th place overall. Now let's get to the judges. Again, we must consider and hope that competitions are recruiting and bringing in the most credible, the most fair, the most ethical, and the most constructive judges possible. Because really the benefit is getting the critiques back from the judges. How can I be a better dancer? How can I be a better performer? So we need to read their bios very carefully, their biographies that are put either on the competition website or in the back of their programs. So I hoped I helped you dissect the interworkings of dance competitions and how they work. I'll have more informative videos coming up, delving into the subculture and the world that is dance. So feel free to ask me any questions that you have in the comments. Remember, dancers, it is just usually 3 people's opinion on a certain day at a certain time. It does not decrease your worth as a dancer. Usually there's 3 judges in a competition. If you're putting in the work, if you're doing the best that you can, that is the goal, that is the reward in itself. If you did your routine exactly the same, let's say on one day, and had a certain set of judges, you could absolutely have different results on another day with a different set of judges. So please keep that in mind. Keep dancing, keep filling those stages, keep competing, and keep working towards your goals. Because even if you don't win the top score, what you're winning is experience, confidence to be on stage, to put out your heart and soul in front of people. And that is so much more valuable than a trophy ever could be. Be sure to subscribe, thumbs up, and click that notification bell.